I'm a trustee with CPRE Oxfordshire. I'm very proud of being one. This is the third in our series of lectures, The Future of the English Countryside. These are to celebrate CPRE's 90th anniversary and to look at some of the opportunities and challenges ahead. If you'd like to watch the first two lectures on regenerative farming and on hedgerows, the regenerative farming version is already on the website, and the hedgerows lecture should be uploaded in the next week. The fourth and final talk in the series on the Environment Bill and Biodiversity Net Gain takes place on Tuesday the 23rd of November, maybe standing room only, I think. The speaker will be Richard Benwell, who is Chief Executive of the Wildlife and Countryside Link, a coalition of environmental NGOs. Richard's been very much at the heart of the issues around the bill, and it promises to be a fascinating talk. So if you haven't already, sign up on Eventbrite for that one. For this edition, the talk is Reducing Our Demand for Water, and we're joined by Andrew Tucker, Demand Reduction Strategy Manager at Thames Water. With population growth and an increasingly built environment, climate change pressures all impacting on our future, water supply security, water efficiency and reducing our daily demand on water is a crucial part of the solution. Saving water is a core part of our lives at home, at work, and how our water network is managed. This session will cover some of the key facts and figures about our daily water use, what Thames Water is doing to help reduce demand across a customer base that numbers more than 10 million users, and highlight how some simple things can save water, energy, and money for everyone. Andrew, as Demand Reduction Strategy Manager, is responsible for strategic direction of water savings through metering, water efficiency, and customer engagement. He was previously Thames Water's Head of Water Efficiency. His key responsibilities include delivering the business's water efficiency targets across London and Thames Valley. He is overseeing the development and delivery of multiple initiatives on household and business customers, delivered in parallel with Thames Water's smart metering rollout and as large-scale bespoke demand management initiatives. I look forward to an explanation on that one.
Me too.
Areas of work include large-scale in-home retrofitting, smart water metering, businesses and schools, and water efficiency communications, online tools, customer advice, and delivering demand reduction targets. Previously, Andrew has been Water Strategy Manager for the Energy Savings Trust, Principal Policy Officer for Climate Change Adaptation, and the Manager of London Climate Change Partnership at the Greater London Authority. And he works in the Australian mining industry as an environmental advisor with coal and base metal mining and processing operations. And finally, a word from our sponsors. CPRE Oxfordshire was founded by a group of local people in 1931, determined to protect and enhance our countryside. 90 years on, they're still going. No, I'm not that old. Still going strong, but the pressures on the countryside are greater than ever before. From development, climate change, and biodiversity decline, The talks are free, but donations to our 90th anniversary appeal would be most welcome as we seek to secure funds to continue our work protecting and enhancing the Oxfordshire countryside. You can donate online via the Just Giving website. A couple of bits of housekeeping to finish up from me. Please keep yourself on mute unless you're asked otherwise. Andrew will be talking for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then there should be plenty of time for a Q&A afterwards. Please put your questions in the chat function. We'll pick them up from there. And please be aware that the session is being recorded. There are two questions which are hot at the moment in the press and so on, which Andrew hasn't come this evening to address. And that's the Abingdon Reservoir and the sewage in the rivers. If you wish to ask Andrew a question about that, you'll be at the back of the queue because that's not what he's come to talk about. But we will try and fit those questions in at the end of the Q&A. Okay. Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Peter. That's quite a quite an intro. Okay, so what I'll do is, hi everyone, thanks for the invite. I'll share my screen, and that should come up now. As Peter mentioned, I'll give you an overview of what we're doing and why. But the topic of just water, saving water use at home, it's kind of relevant. So it's almost like everyone take work badges off and work hats off and just genuinely think of the topic about you and your home, your family, or your place of work. Because it's when you look at those little changes and improvements across 4 million homes in our patch or 250,000 businesses, it makes actually a huge difference. And it's fundamentally a very, very significant part of the plan for ensuring security of supply, not just for Thames Valley, but also for London going forward. So I'll run through a bunch of content. Please take down the questions you've got, personalize it, whatever you need to do, because the Q&A is typically where we get into the real good stuff. So let me crack on. So just an overview, you would have seen these maps probably before from various sources through CPRE or from Thames. But in a nutshell, we have 3 water supply areas. And it's the map on the right-hand side. And you'll get to see just how big the Thames water area is on the map on the left-hand side compared to all the other water providers. The dark blue areas on the right, those 3 dark blue areas, are where we supply clean water to. The entire light blue shaded area that you see separately or underneath is where we conduct our wastewater sewage services. So it's roughly 10 million people get clean water every day, and we take sewage from 15 million people. And we cover about 3 or 4 other water companies' areas where they just supply water. We will do the wastewater services for that, because the network is there. And as far as the scale of the network, you're looking at about, this is in kilometers, I can convert to miles, but you're looking at roughly 30,000 kilometers or roughly 20,000 miles of clean water pipe, which is the area that I typically deal with when it comes to water supply and getting the population to use less. I mean, I probably have the most perverse, odd business role of any sort of sector in the world. There's a monopoly, so 100% of people in that geography use the product every day. My role is to get the entire customer base, the entire population, to use less of that product. It's a great role. We're based in Reading. There's our office. If you've seen it, it's right next to the Thames. And this is a breakdown of the actual water resource zones. So ignore the green different patches. I just had to use this map. Just focus on the different black lines there. And that shows the large water resource zones that we use when we talk about where water is abstracted and how that water that's taken from either the rivers, such as the Thames and its tributaries, or groundwater aquifers, supplies a population in those areas. The blue line on the right-hand side is the Greater London Authority area, just to give you some idea of scale and context. Have you found your home yet, everyone? Good. Yeah. Okay, this thing kind of underpins the entire water resource management plan and business plan. Pretty much every water provider around the world will have a water resource management plan. You convert to a business plan that tells you how to run the system, how to run an operation within a certain budget. But going forward, and I'm going to stick my foreign hat here. So I'm originally Australian. I've been here for 17 years. I've worked with Thames for 7.5, running water efficiency for 7.5 years. So I'm breaking my own myth in rocking up to the UK for the first time, is that this place is actually not that wet. I know, breaking myths like crazy at the moment, but either when you look at annual average rainfall, which can be a good metric or not so good metric, but annual average rainfall, or the water you have per person allocated from the environment, we would have far less than all the Australian state capital cities. So this place is drier than Australia. I know it sounds weird, but that math does actually work out. We've got more mouths to feed. That's the big thing. And in our patch, your patch, our area, that population is growing. And that's what causes the issue fundamentally. So going forward towards the end of the century, because our infrastructure has to last a long time, so we have to plan a long, long time. So this thing looks out towards end of century in a dry year scenario. So a worst case type of scenario where we have less water to take from the environment through changes to abstraction licenses, or variability in the climate, so less certainty around that lovely winter rainfall that recharges everything. That means the bottom line drops and the top line increases because we've got bigger population and more development needing water every day. So the gap increases in a bad scenario. But we have to plan for a bad scenario because you can't run out of water. I've been through situations back in Oz where we do run out. I've been through that drought. It is horrible. Everything that we are doing to reduce demand, reduce leakage, and secure future water sources is to completely offset that risk. I wouldn't wish anyone to go through what we experienced back in Oz. I can't stress that enough. It is very, very scary. But going forward, we simply do not have enough water to feed that future population. So doing things now to bring that top line down, it's the saving water scenario. We reduce our leakage. We install meters because households with a meter use less than unmeasured households. We do water efficiency. We fix leaks on customer homes. We do lots of engagement to try and improve behaviors. The bottom line is simply adding new water resources in that equation to basically bridge that gap. That's as simple as the water resource management plan gets. And every company, every provider around the world will have a various, a version of that type of scenario. Our biggest challenge when it comes to water efficiency and saving water is often this. Kind of dealing with a whole population that doesn't think we have that situation. So education or breaking a myth is sometimes the first thing we have to do, and sometimes it's the first 5 things we have to do. So getting that message across in the right way and understanding it is very, very crucial. Otherwise, you're sort of saying something and it's not landing, or everyone has a different level of awareness on a particular issue. So one of our roles is to increase awareness of the situation for this particular part of the geography. It's different when you go north of the country. So these are the things I just want to run through what we're doing as an organization, working with stakeholders and customers to basically save a lot of water. We have a range of water efficiency programs. Some are on households, some are on businesses. We work with local authorities, housing associations, stakeholder charity groups. We have online tools, online offers, education resources. We work with schools. They come to us on our education centers. And it's just everything we possibly can do to chip away to increase the awareness and secure a measurable reduction in the water that is demanded from 4 million odd homes, nearly 4 million homes and 250,000 businesses every single day around the clock. We've got a lot of them, so we go inside about 25,000 homes a year, retrofitting devices, fixing leaks for free, personalized water reports, water audits for everyone. And we're doing similar things on business sites as well. But over the last few years, a lot of that has changed. And it's changed for the better because we're able to use data and insight better to target and get a better result. And it's pretty much because we're running in parallel with our meter rollout. So this should work. So this is London's under there. You can see the Thames, but basically we're rolling out the first phases of our smart meter rollout. It's a compulsory metering program in the same way that Southern Water have completed theirs, Southeast Water have completed theirs, Affinity Water, which is to the north of us, is doing their compulsory rollout too. And other water companies will follow suit. And it's driven by population demand. The status that the Environment Agency gives certain parts of the country are seriously water stressed. And we know that households that have a meter use less and significantly less. And that means that for the first time, they'll actually only be paying for what they use as opposed to a flat rate which can subsidize others. So we're doing that en masse at the moment. We've got over 500,000, roughly 550,000 meters in the ground. We've got another 10 years of delivery of this thing. And for Oxfordshire area, I'll cover in a second. But basically what it's doing is putting data into us. So historically, on a traditional meter, you would read it once or twice a year. These meters we've put in the ground now, we're only buying smart meters in the same way that you're probably going to go and buy a smartphone as opposed to an old Nokia 3220. And instead of getting 1 or 2 numbers a year, we're getting 24 a day. So whereas historically we would get maybe 1 to 1.5 million meter reads a year. We're now getting over 12 million a day. And it's game changing. So you go from traditional water company to big data company pretty much overnight. We're putting in digital meters, and the communication system is basically like a mobile phone network. So it's a fixed network across London. That process and technology and capability, more to the point, will roll across Thames Valley sooner, which I'll cover now. But essentially, the data coming back, we can find and fix leaks faster. Customers can see the amount that they're using. If they've got a leak in their home, we can advise them within a couple of days, as opposed to waiting for the annual bill to be really, really high and then a complaint coming in. And you get to manage, we're working towards managing the network better, especially on leakage, pressure management, and seeing where water is going and where it's not going, and allocating the water to the right reporting area. This one might be leakage, this one might be internal wastage, or this chunk of water actually is usage. And it improves what we understand about how water is going across a global city. Customers can now, so customers who've got a smart meter can then see their consumption online. They log into their account, like you've got your own accounts for a bank or an energy supplier, or even a grocery store. Log into your own Thames Water account and you can see your usage. You can choose whether you want to see it broken down by day or month, how far in the past until up to when that meter was installed. And we'll also contact the customer immediately if we discovered that they've got possibly an internal leak in their house. Internal leak are things like dripping taps, leaking toilets, sometimes pipe work. But we can do that almost straight away, as opposed to waiting until it's too late. So that's a really great step in the right direction of using data and turning it into insight, and then helping that customer action it for them. So the other thing that smart meters in the ground have done is understand what's happened during COVID. COVID's impacted just about all parts of our lives over the last 18 months plus. But we need to understand what it's done for water. So I'll talk you through this graph very, very simply. Each of the lines is a different housing type: a detached house, a terrace, a semi-detached, or flat. These are London-based houses. We don't yet have the smart meters to give us that granularity of detail in Thames Valley yet. It's coming, but I do have a Thames Valley sort of holistic, total graph to show you. But that's when COVID hit, and you have a massive jump in household consumption. You also had a big drop in business water consumption. They don't always balance each other out, because every single water resource zone, every borough, every local authority has a different blend of business types and a different proportion of businesses to homes. But essentially the household one went through the roof. In fact, we've never seen such household demand, particularly in the Oxfordshire and Wiltshire area. And that's because we had population. It was like having 7 weekend days in homes. We're there the whole time. And when you couple that with warmer weather or sunny weather, that increased garden water use goes through the roof. That's why you see bigger spikes on semi-detached and detached homes. Quite simply, they have bigger gardens and more opportunity to use water. Even though a lot of the lockdowns freed up or the restrictions eased, we saw a sustained increase in all forms of household consumption, Thames Valley and in London, compared to previous years. That happened again in the second lockdown, and we are seeing a decrease right now, but the decrease is essentially due to we've had a cool, wet summer. So the water demand, the need for water from all these homes has been a little bit less. And we're starting to see people return to a pre-COVID working practice. Most of us, may still be working from home, but some of us are back in a workplace. So you're getting a slight shift there. But even with that decrease, at this time of year, with these types of weather conditions, we've still got an amplified household consumption level. This is Thames Valley, and it's not as granular as I said, but the key thing will be focused on the green line. The green line is last year, a full COVID impacted year. I would consider the blue line, sort of 1920, a pretty average, good baseline year for comparison. So compare the green to the blue, and green is quite accelerated as far as its water consumption across the entire year. And that's incorporating changes in weather, which will always see spikes and drops in demand of water. But overall, it's simply because we've got more people at home every single day. And it's completely changed the way that people commute too. So, you know, we're commuting less to either into or out of London for work or other places of work. So we're staying at home, and that's where they're concentrated. That's where the bulk of the daily or the weekly usage is happening. And this is the same area through Thames, but also broken down by housing types. You'll see the blue and the purple line, the detached and semi-detached, having the biggest changes, the biggest spikes. And those spikes are, you know, they're all amplified by us being at home more due to government restrictions. But it's also because we've got gardens. And that's that additional chunk of water use that you don't see typically in flats or even some terraced housing. So it's just interesting to watch that, you know, many parts of our lifestyles have been impacted, but this is impacting us because we've got to plan differently. You might have to engineer and resource differently. Is this a new normal? How long will this go for? What will the new normal be? Are our facilities and our capabilities of producing water going to be enough to deal with a post-COVID world? And that's even before we start talking about development. This is not just a Thames issue. It's not just a London issue. It's not just a Thames Valley issue or an Oxfordshire issue. Every single part of the country has experienced a change. This is a breakdown of what we call per capita consumption. It's a very flawed metric, but it's a metric still. It's basically the amount of water that goes into homes divided by a population. Even though no one has perfect population numbers, so you run the risk of taking good quality measured data and turning into not so great data by that estimation process. But still, it's a metric nonetheless. But every single water provider nationwide has seen a significant increase in the amount of water that's required to go to homes, ranging from about 4 up to about 19%. Every water company was different. Every water resource zone in each water company was completely different. There was no pattern. As I said before, it was often due to the types of housing stock, the balance between what type of business type, whether it's agriculture, hotels, education, industry, all those variables contributed to a complete mishmash of changes in demand for water. I mentioned before about what we're doing in our smart meter rollout. We had, in the early stages of COVID, the government reached out to cities and utilities, large industry, to say, what can you do? Is there a way of doing green economic recovery? How do we kickstart a COVID impacted economy by employing people, investing in infrastructure and delivering green credentials in doing so? We stepped up straight away and said, we can do that by increasing or bringing forward the rollout of smart meters. It employs people, it delivers green credentials by saving water and finding leaks faster. And it's an infrastructure spend, it's generating supply chain. So it's ticking all those boxes. It takes a while to get going because it's a moving beast. And we've also had a global microchip shortage, which has impacted everything globally with a microchip. So we've had that impact as well. But quite simply, we are bringing forward the already planned smart meter rollout for the Thames Valley region. So where we've got homes that don't yet have a meter, the vast majority of those we will aim to meter over the next 3.5 years. And it'll be a smart meter, so there'll be 24 reads a day and the customer can see their consumption online, find their leaks faster, and we can act faster as well. So the intention is to install an additional 200,000 smart meters across the Thames Valley, increasing the meter penetration in the area, and basically in critical areas such as chalk streams, where we want to reduce demand, you know, whether it's on the SWOX, the Swindon Oxfordshire water resource zone, or the Slough Wickham Aylesbury water resource zone. This is an underpinning thing to actually get demand down, get leakage down, and form, going back to that original almost crocodile graph of the big gap going, we will be able to accelerate the benefit that we bring to the local environment by getting these meters in the ground. Using data. We are on a fast learning curve when it comes to picking up and utilizing the volumes of data that come back. As I said before, we're getting well over 12 million meter reads a day. In the space of 5 or so years, we'll be 20 million reads a day, to the point where in 10 years' time, we'll be over 30 million meter reads a day, to properly look at a network, find those leaks, help customers reduce their demand, give them full choices of taking charge of their own water consumption. And this is just a snapshot of a number of different dashboards that are being fed by this data to help us make different and better business decisions. We've got probably 40 odd dashboards with another 20 in development to be finished by the end of the year. All of them identifying things such: how much are we saving? Where are we using? Where are the hotspots? Are there leakage areas? How do we inform customer engagement? It opens up almost a wonderful Pandora's box of being able to manage a water network better. Here's one snapshot. This is a single house, and the orange, yellowy, and blue bars on the right-hand side basically depict either total flow rate or a volume of water that is what we call wastage. Wastage is basically leakage that's happening inside a house or inside a building. So it's a leaking tap, a leaking toilet, a shower head, or a pipe. And we are finding through smart meter data that this is enormous. This is far bigger than we ever thought. And it's a massive part of what we would typically be claiming and putting on the leakage area. So much of the leakage agenda is actually happening on customer and business sites. So we've got this, the data that comes back from smart meters are going to help us break that down, understand it better. And if we can understand it and locate it better, that means we can fix it faster. And this particular one, it just shows the benefit of going before to after, and basically the fix. And this one is a leaking toilet, and we've gone in there and it's saved over 2,000 litres a day just by fixing that simple leak in a house. We would not have known that if we didn't have the smart meter. That there, we have thousands and thousands of examples like this now, and we're just building up this huge library of just customers being able to fix their own stuff. We can go and help fix their own stuff, or we engage with retailers and they can talk to their businesses to go and reduce that continuous flow of water. This is potable drinking water. We take to world-class drinking standards. It's either just leaking out of a toilet, leaking out of a tap, or a pipe. And that goes the same as our network as it does in customer homes or businesses. We are also using that data to plan and predict and then act better when it comes to informing key areas. So we're mapping out basically minute by minute the status of water supply for a DMA, which is what we call a district metered area, which might be 1,000 or 2,000 households and properties, or a whole local authority, or a whole water resource zone. So we'll classify them green, amber, red. And this is just a snapshot, a mock-up of what we're doing now. And that there, instead of just informing what we do is operationally out in a network, but we're also using that to go and engage with customers. So if we think that a particular situation like demand is outstripping the volume of water that we can actually produce because of hot weather, or because everyone is home because of a government restriction, we're using the data that's coming in to say, righto, let's enact the amber communications and engagement, emails and texts, and get out to those 10,000 households and let them know what's happening in the area, and maybe just raise awareness, or even to the point when say, would you mind just slowing down for the next few hours? Our systems will recover and produce the water, and we can go back to normal supply. And it works. It genuinely works. So we've been trialing this for the last 2 summers. So instead of, it's proactively doing something better than reactively doing it when people complain. So the specific water efficiency actions, I talked about a general suite of stuff, but here are a few snapshots of what we're doing. So if I play this, if there's a sound, if there's music and over talking, then I apologize. I'll stop it. But if not, in fact, Helen, I can see you. If you can hear this over my talking, just nod and I'll stop it. Anything? No? Okay, good. I can hear it. We go into people's homes. We work with Groundwork. They're our environmental charity. They are our long-term water efficiency partner. We'll be working with them for 15, 20 years. and their staff, our staff, branded as us, operating as Thames Water, they're going into 25,000 homes a year and doing personalised water audits. We will install all the devices, fix all their leaks, and they'll get a personalised report to say, this is how much you're using, and these are the areas that you could change or do better, or off the back of our device installations, this is how much water you'll save. We also convert that into how much energy they'll save, because the majority of the water that we use in our homes is hot water. So it's not even a quick quiz thing, but I'll say that the second, so everyone on this call, the second biggest chunk of your energy bill is actually your water usage. It's you heating water and using hot water. The biggest part of your energy bill is keeping your house warm. That hot water use is showers, baths, taps, washing machines, dishwashers, the appliances. That hot water usage, so saving water is actually going to reduce your energy bill. Probably a really good thing now. But our program of going into homes and working with local community groups through our Smarter Home Visit program this year won the industry's best water efficiency program, but it also won the UK water sector's top prize, which is really lovely because we've put in new training, new technology, using smart meters, and we've embedded a lot of additional benefits into those customers. Reaping the rewards from that is that I won't go into the detail, but simply look at the amount of water in the black bar on that chart. That's how much we were saving per house visit over the last few years, which is pretty, I mean, it's a little bit above, but it's about industry standard, what we see if we go in there and do some stuff in a house. But since we've had smart meter data, we focus on going to the homes that are using the most or losing the most water through their leakage and focusing on those. And we've more than doubled the savings that we get from that intervention. And it can, it has the potential to take people out of a water poverty situation or an affordability issue. And it dramatically reduces the volume of water that's either being used or lost without impacting quality of life. Oh, also the green bar is what we did during the government restrictions. So we couldn't go into homes. We had to stop meter installations. We had to stop a lot of that engagement, a lot of water inspections, and we stopped our water efficiency visits. So we were the first group nationwide to step up a virtual visit. We got onto Teams and WhatsApp and various different video and phone mediums and channels to engage with the customers remotely and talk them through their house and talk them through their potential savings over the phone or over a video. It worked very, very well. We did in between 7 to 10,000 virtual visits over that period of time. But our teams are now fully back into homes, and that's basically because that's what customers are requesting. They're saying, "Come into my house, do the work there," rather than me being on video or another phone call a day, which I completely understand. Okay. The reason why we were awarded that award too is we've introduced a lot of technology. Our staff have an app. It's their app. It's not a public app, but it basically is a calculator tool that they run through with the customer. They literally will sit on their couch or at the kitchen table and run through that situation. We will move that program into the Oxfordshire area when we move in a couple of years' time when we're doing the smart meter rollout. So the smart meter rollout and the water efficiency and the leak fixes will happen in parallel as we go. It makes sense to do those area-based programs together. And what we've also done is embedded priority services and affordability referrals. So customers of a certain age, or they've got some health conditions or other concerns, parents with newborn babies, mobility issues, sight loss, mental health. There's a whole range, a suite of issues and characteristics that the energy sector, communication sector, the fire brigade, the emergency services, and ourselves will coordinate and ensure that when that customer is registered as a priority service customer, if there's something happening in that area, we'll come to you first. And that process of registration has been embedded in our water efficiency visit. So instead of doing 5 things in a visit, we're now doing 10 things. And it's the right thing to do, and it's working brilliantly well. And can I just point out, if you think that you're eligible for priority services, please Google Thames Water Priority Services and just register online. It's very, very simple. It's worthwhile. We are incentivizing people who are on a smart meter, basically encouraging and rewarding them for their great water efficiency work. So we've teamed up with Green Redeem. and they'll get points that they can use for prize draws or shopping discounts, or even donate their points, which have a value, to a local charity. And that's basically a reward for using less water that we were able to measure through that meter. The customers will register through Green Redeem to do that. They're a partner for this thing, but they'll register with Green Redeem. And it's working very, very well. We'd like to get more people to benefit from that. Businesses. So whether you're still working, whether you've got your own businesses, still employed somewhere, this is the key thing. We have a wonderful, wonderful team of 20 full-time plumbers going around door to door in businesses in London and the Thames Valley, fixing stuff. We are finding that businesses leak like a sieve. This is something that I'm desperate to work, not just within Thames, but we're trying to work nationwide on this particular issue, to engineer water loss out of existence. In the same way that companies now have extremely aggressive leakage reduction targets, which we need to reduce by another 50% by mid-century through huge engineering projects. But the same water is being lost through leaking toilets and taps and pipework and appliances and things in people's homes and businesses. And we want to engineer that out, because ultimately this is all the same water we're taking from rivers and aquifers. Two big things: leaking toilets and uncontrolled urinals in the men's bathroom. Those two things constitute the biggest water saving things that are relevant across the entire business market UK-wide. And we're having fantastic savings on that one there. So I'll give you an example. Last month, 3 members of our team were inside a well-known London-based football club, and in their site, they had 30 urinals that were flushing twice every minute, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So we fixed those things, and right now, within the space of a few hours of doing a little bit of plumbing work, we saved 164,000 litres a day. Simple stuff. Every single business has an opportunity to save here, in the same way that every single house has an opportunity to save. We're also working with the golf sector and the sports leisure sector to look at alternative water supplies for what we're calling discretionary water use. So irrigation on sporting fields and playing fields. We don't need potable water, drinking quality water, to go on grass. So how do we work with the sector? How do we work with the Environment Agency to find alternatives? Be efficient first, but let's find alternatives. Our plumbing team. It's not glamorous work, but it rocks. I love these people. They are absolutely brilliant. And it just fixing the basics yields massive, massive water savings. That's in a school, actually a school that's quite local to you. I won't name it, but that's in a school in your area. Right, quiz time. I'm happy for people to come off mute here. I'm going to play this video. It's very, very short. I'll play it a couple of times if needs be. Based on the number of people inside this call, at least one of you has a leaky loo statistically right now in your house. So I need you to go. I need someone to yell out this little dribble here. Oops, hang on a second. Whoop, whoa, whoa, whoa. Amy gave it away. That little dribble. How many litres a day is that in that toilet loss? I'll play it again. That little ripple, how many litres a day? Anyone come off mute?
100.
100? Anyone else?
I'll go for 20.
20? Anyone else? Last one, lucky third.
150.
Ooh, hedging bets. Okay. That particular toilet is 650 litres a day. The average toilet roughly ranges between, the average leaky loo ranges between 200 to 400 litres, call it 400 litres. And it would double an average family's total daily consumption and their bill if they're metered. 1 in 20 homes nationwide has a leaky loo. Statistically, it's far more prevalent in businesses. The average water loss per leaky loo in businesses is much, much higher. We're in excess of 2,000 litres per leaky loo on a business because they let it go longer and it gets worse. This is a massive issue. So I'm the loudest person on this thing nationwide. We work with the Bathroom Manufacturers Association, government fitting standards, to try and work out a way of engineering these products off the UK market. 95% of them are push button, dual flush push button, and it's basically the way it's designed in there. There's no safety factors, no redundancy. It's just if a little bit of grit or something happens to the seal, you're going to have a leaky loo. And we've really gone to town. It's had massive national exposure. So we've had BBC and lots of stuff in the media about this thing, and it's going to get bigger. We've worked with Waterwise, all the water companies and the sector to put forward a couple of joint statements around toilet leakage. Anyone can use this thing if you just Google it from Waterwise, because they're a neutral NGO working in the water efficiency space. And we've also put forward a one-pager on the right-hand side, a very simple piece of guidance for any developer, procurer, builder, industry, or just a homeowner who wants to know what they can do to either maintain their toilet better, or if they're going to go and buy something, what they should be looking for. We're doing a huge amount of marketing. We always want to do more communications, but it is a challenging area to be in because all the channels out there, whether it's online or whether it's print, radio or TV, they're not cheap options. So you've got to really weigh this up very, very carefully. But we're doing a great deal of multi-channel or omni-channel type of work across the area to both raise awareness, but also just give people and businesses the basic help they need to take care of their own consumption. And that includes leaky loos. We've been working with social influencers, quite a first for us. And we've also put a lot of articles in print media, a lot of work on social media, tweets, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's fantastic for all our stakeholder groups. And that ramps up during spring and summertime, of course, when this agenda becomes an issue for us, even more so. And just recently, we've launched a series, a suite of different very, very simple water saving videos that touch on the major water users in each of our homes. So, a toilet, a leaky loo, a shower, a tap, and the outside in the garden. And I would love everyone on the call, doesn't have to be tonight because I know we'll finish late, or hopefully we'll finish early, but we'll get an early mark. But whenever you can, if you'd like to understand how much water you think you use in your house and where it is broken down into your kitchen, your bathroom, or by device, or by the use practice, taking a bath versus taking a shower type of thing, just Google Thames water, just go to search engine, Thames water calculator, and have a go at our online water calculator tool. You can download, go through it, takes a few minutes. You can download your own PDF, it's be your report. And it'll take you through the room. It'll even take you through some water use either outside in the office, or even if you're back in the gym, being good and responsible and looking after your health. If you're showering there, it'll capture that water use as well. And you can just basically look at your own personalized water report. And it'll tell you in water amount, water pounds if you're metered, but also energy bill amount, where you're spending time and money on water. And it'll also give you the basic wins and quick tips and quantify how much you could save off your bill. These numbers will be different from a metered water bill. This report is based on what the inputs that you put in. So it's self-reported. And quite simply, this is the average house in our area and in most areas. It's very, very consistent. But the graphic on the bottom left-hand corner basically is a breakdown of how water is used in homes. So showering and bathing constitutes the biggest amount of daily water consumption for families, followed by toilets. And then there's a real mix. So a whole bunch of these things are taps. Taps are the difficult one. A toilet only does one thing. A shower kind of does one thing. A bath does one thing mostly. Taps do lots of different things, and they're more difficult to actually measure and understand. But there's a fairly decent representation of how an average person or an average family would use water in the home. And we did another piece of research just recently and launched it for this summer, even though we didn't have much of a vicious summer. I am the #1 person in the queue who loves a cold, wet summer, because when it's cold and wet during the summer, I don't get put on radio and TV asking everyone to slow down. It's really, really good. And that's probably your benefit just as much as it is for mine. So what we established that there's a lot of additional water use that's crept into society, and paddling pools is one of them. So, 1 in 3 homes will have a paddling pool during the summertime. In the 70s, we all had little paddling pools. Right now, you can go onto 10 different websites and order a 20,000 litre pool as a paddling pool. That's more than the entire street in front of you, behind you, and around you combined for the day. So when that paddling pool thing kicks in on a hot Saturday or a hot Sunday, the demand for water often outstrips what we can actually take from the environment and produce. And that issue is getting bigger. So lastly, some big picture stuff. DEFRA's got an environment bill. Peter, you mentioned that there's an upcoming session around environment bill, but there are some key things that are likely to come from that are going to really benefit this agenda. Firstly is an introduction of a national water target. We have CO2 reduction targets, X% CO2 reduction against a baseline year to be delivered by 2045 type of scenario. We don't have any national driver on water. There's no water policy on this agenda at all. So DEFRA is seeking to introduce that. It'll drive an agenda. So instead of just a wholesale water company being the one to push an agenda to save water, this should be core business across every sector in the same way that energy efficiency is. So this will put water efficiency, water saving on that roadmap. Mandatory labeling. You've seen the A to G energy label. We don't have a similar label for water on all water devices and appliances to drive markets, help customers make a better decision to get a more efficient product when they buy it either online or off a shop shelf. We need that. DEFRA are going to introduce that, probably come into play around 2024. That's been the single biggest water saving option in Australia. It's the only thing that improves the water performance of every house and every business going forward. Can't wait. Brilliant. I'm also on the panels to try and strengthen building regulations, strengthening fitting standards. We're working very hard to ensure that whatever is put on the market here works, but is also efficient. And we link that with labeling. And we're working with retailers to try and drive water efficiency through the business market. It's not happening enough at the moment. That needs to change and increase. And we're also we're writing a draft 2 of the UK water efficiency strategy, picking up many of the options and the things that I've picked up tonight. But even though that big policy push, that big regulatory stick is often needed, a lot of the time these things can be done at the home and the workplace. But when you scale up those little changes across that sheer huge population, it makes a massive difference, because that's water that we're not going to have to take from the environment, in the same way that we're working to reduce leakage. Same water, same local environment stream or aquifer that we want to protect. So Peter and Helen, that's me, and I will stop the talk and then prepare for questions, I guess.
I think we've got a few for